Well, hello YouTube, it's me, Fortmaster, and welcome back to another Dorked reaction. So, if you're watching this, you should hopefully have watched the previous video I should have released yesterday, which was Dorked's video, Can We Predict Deltarune's Plot? And they just went over a lot of stuff, going over the currently loose plot threads that chapters 1 and 2 of Deltarune leave out. Now, the thing was, and it was funny that they talked about themselves, but, you know, Toby released the winter/holiday newsletter for Deltarune, and, yeah, that apparently states a lot of stuff, so much stuff, in fact, that they had to do a correction video to that one, which is what we're going to be watching today. This is new DESS lore, Dark World hints, Deltarune Holiday Newsletter. Oh god, you gotta love when just cosmic timings line up like that. Just perfect. All that time and effort just down the drain. So yeah, I haven't actually read that much through the Deltarune newsletter myself. I was kind of waiting to do that after, you know, after I watched this video. Though, of course, that didn't stop me from seeing the gif of of just Sans being like a snowflake magnet and sucking them all into his mouth, leaving Papyrus with absolutely nothing. But yeah, so again, don't know much about the newsletter, don't know much about this video. I know it's obviously a lot shorter than the one that Dork released before, so yeah, there's hopefully not that too much that they have to update. But either way, I'm excited to see them. So yeah, of course, as always, original videos linked in the description if you haven't seen it yet for some reason. Corner video will lead to my Let's Play of the day. And yeah, with all that out of the way, let's get this thing started then, shall we?
Well, well, well. Just after I post what was supposed to be my final predictions video before the release of Chapter 3 and 4, we get a holiday newsletter. But that's totally fine. I kind of had a hunch that this was going to happen, and that's why I didn't actually title the video as Final Predictions.
Also, I really love Toriel's coat here. I like the, you know, the whole, like, full, like, sleeve mitt things, the cuff. It fits Toriel so well.
But there's quite a lot to go over, so let's get started. First of all, I really love the sprite work in this. All the animations are extremely expressive and adorable. I love just Toriel sticking out her tongue for the snowflake. It's incredibly wholesome, and what a stylish fit she's got. But also, the emphasis on a holiday rather than winter, I think, is a bit of wordplay, because not only is this releasing around the winter holidays, but also the holiday family in Deltarune, and as we'll see later in the newsletter, there's quite a bit to kind of unpack regarding teasers of the next few chapters. And of course we got our lovely Heat Flamesman. Ooh, tough luck, buddy. At least you didn't completely go away from that little snowflake.
Check it out.
Gosh,
Blue Sky.
Toby's Blue Sky account, honestly, is such a treat. I really love just that he's gone all out making silly memes and shit posts.
I don't think I'm following him on Blue Sky. I should probably do that. You know, links to my Blue Sky account also in the description. You know, wink wink, come on. And there we go.
It's just been so fun. And the house carpet song that gained some traction for being so funny, what I love about that is it uses the same vocal samples as the song from Persona Trinity Soul, Burning Men's Soul, which I might put on in the background just to be funny. It is such a stupid song, but in the best possible way.
Oh god, I'm gonna have to listen to that, aren't I? Great.
It is art. And I just love Toby going out of his way to make the stupidest little tests. Wow, Sans can just really crane his neck.
Yeah, and just suck up all of the...
The snow just wants to go to your bro. I'm so sorry, man.
It all starts moving.
I wonder if, like, Sans is sucking up the snowflakes.
He's just... If this was actually in-game, you'd hear, like, a vacuum sound effect just slowly get louder as all the snowflakes get closer to Sans.
Without any, like, lip movement, because skeleton, it's hard to say, but that would make it so much funnier if he was just trolling his bro. I love Monster Kid in a comically big scarf.
It's adorable.
It's such a simple design change, but it suits them. As for the LTS build of Deltarune, by the looks of it, a lot of the changes were really minor. I did really appreciate that they changed Swatch's sprite. I'll probably put the updated version on screen, but it was a welcome change because I thought that Swatch's overworld sprite in the previous builds was really jank looking compared to how cool they looked in the actual shop. Ah, wow, so that's really interesting though that GameMaker future updates may be needed as the game gets bigger. I wonder if, like, Deltarune, as far as GameMaker games go, is, like, one of the most massive in scale, and that's why they have to do all these changes.
I mean, I wouldn't, you know, see it out of the realm of possibilities. I mean, if you go look with FNAF and like, Scott Cawthon and, like, oh god, what was the game engine that the first few FNAF games were made on? Click Team Fusion, that was it. Yeah. So when Scott made the Ultimate Custom Night, where you can, you know, defend against 50 animatronics, he was basically pushing the engine to its absolute limits. I remember after it came out, there were a lot of people complaining about, oh, the jump scare animations weren't as intricate or as fleshed out as you say, like, compared to, like, the last few games. But it boiled down to the fact that just the game, there was just so much packed into that game that he had to start slimming some things out for it to actually work. And then eventually, he's kind of partnered up with Click Team, where, if you haven't heard, they're making a racing game called 5 Laps at Freddy's. And because of FNAF, Click Team has what became much more popular, you know, mostly in the realm of, you know, making FNAF fan games, but, that just kind of comes with the territory. So, I mean, I'd very much imagine that Toby has, at very least, a very similar relationship with, you know, GameMaker, given that Undertale and Deltarune were such massive games that kind of shone a spotlight on the engine. So I very much believe that they're kind of having a working agreement here, just saying, we're like, oh, hey, GameMaker, we're going to need to do this. Can you start working on stuff behind the scenes so that we can do this in the future? And then they're just basically like inadvertently funding the development of the game engine as well.
Like, maybe they're hitting limitations within what's possible. But I don't know enough about game dev for GameMaker specifically to know for sure. Aww. Frisk in a big little Santa suit, though.
That's not a Santa suit. I almost have to think, is Frisk literally just wearing Toriel's coat? I mean, they're so puffed up, I'd believe it.
Oh, extremely precious.
Oh god.
I think it's so funny that the way the annoying dog is shown frozen here is the same block of ice that Birdly is in the Weird Route.
Yeah.
And Temmie's art, always a treat. Oh my gosh. Frisk's umbrella is just
catching all the snow.
Look at him go. They are just having a time. So this is interesting. Like, this is our first look at that one Susie sprite that first appeared in the Spamton sweepstakes in context. And we can see from this image
she's literally asleep.
Bridge in that starting area that we saw in the previous Chapter 3 teaser. I remember back when the sweepstakes first dropped, people thought that she was going to wake up on the couch in the green room. But looking at how the other chapters start, I think it makes more sense to have it be kind of further away from the main area, because we had that with the cliffs in Chapter 1, and then we had that with the first part of Cyberfield up until Queen showed up, where both chapters kind of had this subdued, quiet start. So I suspect we will see that again.
I mean, it makes sense, given that, you know, Susie is asleep when the Dark Fountain forms. I mean, I'd very much believe that the couch turns into that main area where they start off on.
Hearing about the gameplay structure, it's really interesting that there's a long portion without saving, and I wonder what that's going to be. I appreciate that it's fun despite the lack of saving possibility, though I guess that depends on if Toby decides to add it. From this little text here, I think it's very likely that this is referring to the pizza-scented bath wash, or maybe it was shampoo. I'll have the actual
for
text
boys, yeah,
on screen when I do my post-production. So I guess we're going into the bathroom because the Icy's pizza body wash or shampoo is in there. So I wonder if there's going to be some bathtub, sink, or toilet-related shenanigans. I mean, we had the giant toilet in Chapter 2, so anything goes. Now, Chapter 4. In my previous video with my predictions, I had a couple of ideas of what Chapter 4's Dark World could be, but I was pretty set on the big contenders being Flower King or Ices or maybe something like the church, because Rudy mentioning going to church the next day. But looking at this now, because this tree is labeled Chapter 4 Holiday Tree, and if we look at the preview image with Noelle from the anniversary newsletter, we also see Noelle with a flashlight surrounded by Christmassy looking decorations. So my thoughts are that the next Dark World for Chapter 4 might actually be the Holiday Mansion after all, or at the very least we will finally get to see the Holiday Mansion in the Light World section. But
okay, so now I'm wondering, just as like a stylistic thing. So of course, with Noelle and her family, they're obviously, of course, very Christmas oriented and theming, but I didn't want to believe that they'd be, so on brand, so to speak, that their house was just Christmas decorations all year. But so, given that there's that tree that's all dressed up and decorated, they're either, because like again, from that little bit of the picture you see, I can't quite tell whether like Noelle's hiding in the attic and that's just all like the decorations that are put away for the year, or if she's just in a normal part of the house, which is, Christmas themed, given, them, and the power's just gone out for some reason. Interesting. I can't tell. It's going to be very interesting to see.
My friend Liz talked about this a bit, but there's a possibility that, like, Rudy comes home, maybe he's not feeling so good, and one thing leads to another and Dark World happens that way. I think it's still up in the air, and we don't have a ton of information in the text teasers below to really solidify. I would say, at the very least, the chances of the holiday residence becoming the focus of Chapter 4 just got a lot higher. Like, Inferno really doesn't tell us very much about setting.
I mean, besides the fact that there may be a fireplace that's been lit. I mean, I don't know how many times I've wanted to just burn the wrapping paper after you've ripped it off, because we have a fireplace in our basement, and that's where we keep our Christmas tree and stuff like that. But at the same time, I know for a fact that would never really work, because you'd only throw in a couple of handfuls of wrapping paper in, and thus the entire thing would be absolutely stuffed with ashes, and that would just put the fire out.
Then we have some dialogue where the names are very conveniently left out. Like, I think we can presume Susie is talking here, but either... this could... I don't know enough about Game Maker internal code to say for sure. Like, my gut instinct is Susie is definitely one of the speakers, but could be dialogue choices, could be another character, Ralze or someone new. I think Toby censoring the name means he's definitely trying to conceal some form of detail.
Okay, interesting.
Lancer, I kind of have a hunch this will be for a Castletown section, just because I don't think Susie would want to risk bringing Lancer to another Dark World after what happened in the mansion.
Yeah, definitely.
So this is probably just a look at like some of the silly Castletown exploits between chapters. Then the to buy or not to buy, probably shop related. Now this Birdly dialogue is interesting for a couple of reasons. One, this could mean that Birdly is asking Chris to the festival, or he could be asking Susie, but also, I think this really solidifies the festival for Chapter 5.
Also, I'm just noticing here, it's act as in the capital ACT, like acting in a battle. It's an act of charity. I wonder, depending on how things go, could Birdly potentially be a like a party member that we have in chapters 3 or 4. Well, probably 4, given that these are the translations for it.
And there's another reason for that I'll get to in a moment. And then this El Nino dialogue, I think that probably is also going to be Castletown related, because if El Nino and... was it La Nino? I'd have to look again, but those are chapter 3 characters, the weather duo. So it would make sense if they were just goofing off in Castletown, unless they end up like Rule's card and end up popping into Chris's pocket or something. But
Oh, no.
testing is really coming soon, and that's exciting news, because that means that it might not be especially late in 2025 before we actually get the chapters. So time will tell. For all I know, another newsletter in like the spring or something will give me even more to talk about, making that last video even less of a final predictions. But while we're looking at chapter 5,
Oh, hi,
this
Burger Pants.
holiday wreath. Now, with the ribbon and stuff, my gut instinct is this is going to be a decoration for the festival. We know that the mayor's been preparing for the festival, and the Holidays family is all about Christmas. One of my guesses was that chapter 5 would be when the festival takes place. So what I'm wondering is if that's going to be before a Dark World, or if a Dark World might spring up during the festival, or if it's going to be a primarily Light World chapter. I saw some people suggesting that this Pizza Pants reaction is a battle
Pizza Pants,
sprite,
never mind.
and that he's copying Chris, and that Pizza Pants will be a party member for chapter 5. I think that would be really, really funny.
That would be funny, but I mean, granted, I mean, we can't really see what he's wearing here besides the fact that, you know, black pants, gray shirt, or possibly maybe even like a gray, like, suit jacket or something like that, given that we can see, like, maybe like the little bit of like a pot of like a white, possibly dress shirt underneath. But given how, you know, characters, like, clothes change between the light and the dark world, I don't rightly believe so. Like, this very much seems like, oh, he's being hired to be like to be at the like the party or something as like a steward or something. Or maybe or maybe Icy Pizzas is catering the party. Who knows?
The thing is that he's not in Dark World colors, although there was a teaser
colors, yeah, of
image
course.
for Noelle before chapter 2 dropped that also used her Light World colors. The difference being that she was in a more distinctly Dark World outfit. So it could also just be that Pizza Pants is dressing up nice for the festival and having a really goofy reaction to something. Editing Dorked here because Liz brought to my attention that it's possible that Burger Pants dressed up nicely for the festival in order to meet his fake girlfriend. He really believes he has a real girlfriend, but it's actually Bratty pranking him with pictures of the low-res pizza bikini magazine from Sans' convenience store. So it could be as simple as that. But I think we should open our hearts and our minds to the possibility of Pizza Pants party member. Of all the characters to end up in the party, I do think this is, like, the funniest option. I think, though, if Chapter 5 really does end up being festival-focused, it could end with the start of the Roaring, and then Chapter 6 leads to taking shelter, going down into the bunker, trying to find the answers, like I mentioned in that legend video.
I mean, it would make sense.
If this is the case, I really love the idea of, like, descending into hell, that being the bunker, plus number 6, and then ascending into heaven in Chapter 7, which would make a great church-themed Dark World, plus 7 being associated with luck. So that's one possibility for sure. But obviously, when you're only working from so much information from a silly newsletter, this is always going to be a bit of spitballing. That being said, the mention of the pizza shampoo and Pizza Pants appearance could be a sign that an Icy's Dark World will happen even if the chapter focuses on the festival. It's possible that Icy's caters for it, for all we know.
Literally what I just said.
This merch was revealed a while ago, but I do think it's really cool. Love Sean finally getting a plush, and also the Important Person shirt is fantastic because it can double as a Chris or a Kara shirt, and it also really leans into the whole connection to you, the player, because there's that with both Kara and Chris in different ways. Deltarune obviously explores that in more depth, and let me tell you, when I checked the email version of this and saw my name in here, I was like, oh man.
Their love will become yours, your love will become theirs. That's not freaky and cult-like at all.
That just made it hit even harder, like, Toby, you sneaky little dog. Sham would really not believe that people wanted them that much, but it's an adorable plush, and I love this concept art.
Wizard energy.
I think it also just helps kind of reveal more about Sham, especially if they end up being a battle later, like a secret boss. Them having a cool mage staff. Love it. Though the implication that they might have had a fluffy tail that got torn off is really sad. It also does fit with the design, one button eye and then one empty eye hole. I want to see fan art of all the different types of tails people imagine for Sham, since...
Again, there was this one fan comic I read a little while ago where it was quite literally, and this was like posted before Chapter 2 got released, so a lot of things changed, but it was like Susie, Chris, and Rousey going into different dark worlds and meeting different versions of Rousey's, and in one of the worlds they actually ended up fighting Sham as one of the bosses, and they actually gave him a big fluffy tail in the comic, so yeah, I guess it works.
Toby left the door open to that. You gotta love Frisk casually walking up with an umbrella full of snow. And just love the really subtle colors used for, like, the shading to give it a kind of more Deltarune than Undertale vibe. Undertale. I'm not going to play this song because I learned my lesson after the spring newsletter video. I do not want to deal with Japanese music license holders because...
Yeah, there's a lot of good things about Japan. Their copyright law, not one of them.
Because they tend to be really cutthroat with content ID stuff, and like that's true of a lot of music license holders, but from what I understand, copyright law is very different over there.
Yeah, as I've said before, that's one of the reasons I'm never going to do reactions to anime, because I do not want that. I don't want to I don't want to be in that kind of danger.
But it's still cool to see Toby doing all these great collabs.
Oh, and the snow gives out.
And this is probably my favorite because I have the Papyrus bias, but also just, I love seeing Papyrus and Toriel interact and having a good time, because that's really not something you got a lot of in Undertale, and it can help of shed light on the kind of friendship they would have, where they can both have a good laugh, even if it's at Papyrus's expense. And I'm... Also,
that's just a good, like, Papyrus, sprite. You don't get very many front-on, like, sprites besides the ones of him just walking. Most of the time it's like him standing to the side or like posing or stuff like that. You get very few natural Papyrus sprites.
Really curious to see what other stuff Toby and co are working on for the next year, because it's not just Deltarune. So very, very interesting. But that's not all. This cute little snowman leads us to a short but sweet page, and we get this nice little snippet from Noelle that I will try to do in a voice that hopefully won't sound awful. When it snows, me and my sister and everyone have a contest to make the biggest snow angel of them all. We lie on the ground and spread out our arms and wave them until we get a shape just like us. I'm the smallest, even smaller than Chris, but I don't lose. Because after we stand up to look, DESS always tells me, "Hey look, Ellie, yours has even more hidden underneath," and pushes away all the snow I couldn't reach, so I have the biggest wings of all. I wish it could snow whenever I wanted. So gosh, this Just Like That Asriel and Kara page for the anniversary. Honestly, my gut instinct here is that in some regards, Noelle and DESS are like quasi-parallels to the Dreamer siblings, because one of them is absolutely missing from the other's life in a way where there's that big void and longing to see them again. Like with Asriel, yearning to see Kara, projecting Kara onto Frisk, and all of that. And obviously the specifics are different because, for all we know, DESS is still alive and just out of commission, whether
in the space between dimensions.
It's stuck in a dark world, stuck in the game's code, or is the Roaring Night. We don't know yet. But I love getting a little bit more insight onto the kind of person DESS is. And she really seems like a super supportive older sister, loves Noelle, really wants her to feel confident in herself despite being so young and kind of meek. And I have a really strong hunch that as we enter into, like, Chapter 4, I think, given the holiday-themed teasers, that's really when we're going to start to learn more about the family, about DESS, about the mayor, find out a bit more about what direction Rudy's plot is going to go. So, on the whole, a very interesting newsletter. And thank you so much for watching. Before we go, I do want to plug my recent video. It's 47 minutes long, me going
Already
through
watched it.
all these possibilities for setup and plot developments for Deltarune. I really wanted to go in depth, look back at where we started and what sort of pieces of the plot that Toby kind of has been sprinkling throughout, to try and look at many possibilities, because I don't like to stick too hard on one theory when we're working with only so many puzzle pieces. But it was a really fun project to put together, and I hope that you check it out. Anyway, happy holidays to those who celebrate. If you like what I do and want to support me into the future, check out my Patreon.
Oh god, again, all the little things that can be hidden in something as not innocuous as like a newsletter and stuff like that. And again, you just gotta love looking at all this pixel art and these animations and stuff like that. I mean, granted, like, there is a part of me that's a little angry. It's like, come on, why are you working on stuff like this when you could be working on the game? But at the same time, I have to remember that, oh, they've already finished working on this section of the game. Now it's testing and translation and stuff like that. Like, you know, the more, not like art-related stuff. It's like the last of the hard, like, tough stuff that has to be worked on. Oh, God. But, I mean, even if just, like, a quarter of the stuff, like, again, the sleeping Susie, which, again, is probably going to be, like, the couch is going to be that beginning area you saw, and just all this stuff. And, again, the idea that the Holidays house is just perpetually decorated for Christmas all year round. I mean, I love the thought of that. And, you know, link to the, I guess, first part, if you want to call it that. I'll also link that, in the corner as well. But yeah, that's going to be it for now. So yeah, of course, as always, original videos linked in the description if you haven't seen it yet for some reason. Corner video lead to my Let's Play of the day. And yeah, with all that out of the way, I hope you guys liked. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if not, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.